Well, investigative journalists have dusted off the cobwebs of a suspected dodgy 280 million rand land deal in the heart of Sandton. AmaBhungane has uncovered how the city of Johannesburg allegedly agreed to sell 3 hectares of prime real estate to a politically connected consortium in 2008. Well, it's alleged that Regiment's Coro consortium never paid the purchase price. The development went nowhere. Now the deal's gone into liquidation. We've sent a request to the consortium for comment. In the meantime, investigative journalist Susan Comrie is delving deep into this one. Let's get some of the finer details from her now. Susan, what do you know? It sounds like a very complex story, but then these tales of fraud are always very complex, and they're done, the architecture is such that they're made to be very hard to unpack forensically.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a story that goes back a long time. A number of other people have kind of looked at the story in the past. We kind of felt that we could add value because we have done kind of such extensive investigations into Regiment's capital. We had access to information that hadn't come to light. We felt that we could add value here and help kind of take this story further. At the end of the day, you have a prime piece of land in the middle of Sandton. The city has, as you've pointed out, they've essentially given away the land. They haven't been paid the purchase price, and it doesn't look like they will be paid the purchase price for a very long time to come. Meanwhile, that piece of land is sitting empty, undeveloped, and has been for the past 13 years.
Susan, when I heard the name of the company, Regiments, I sat up because I remember it being mentioned so many times in Parliament during state capture inquiries. I'm surprised it's still going.
Well, it's debatable whether it is or not. Regiments themselves, this was one of the reasons that they were put into liquidation. They are fighting to get out of liquidation. This deal really goes back to a time when Regiments was really an up-and-coming company, getting a lot of business from the city of Johannesburg. We've written in the past about the kind of contracts that they got with the help of the late Mayor Jeff Makubo. But this was really kind of at a time when Regiments was an up-and-comer. They sort of justified the deal on the basis that, the city was helping to develop an emerging property developer, although I think perhaps a more cynical way to put that was to say that the city kind of chose to entrust what, Regiments themselves described as arguably the most important piece of undeveloped real estate in South Africa to a consortium that was strong on political connections, but quite weak on any property development experience.
You had to go the access to information route to get some of the names, but has there been any official investigation yet, or has anyone been charged?
Well, that's an interesting one. When Herman Mashaba was still mayor of Johannesburg, this was one of the issues that he picked up around 575, and he launched a full forensic investigation. Now, that was just before he resigned, and the city effectively was handed back to the ANC-led government. Now, it's very unclear what's happened to that forensic investigation. We've asked the city repeatedly to tell us what is the status of the investigation. Has it been concluded? What were the outcomes? The city has just refused to comment on the status of that investigation.
Okay, so someone must have made a decent sum of money here. Has the money trail taken you anywhere?
It's an interesting one. One of the things that we looked at is to say, okay, the city has not been paid the purchase price. They have a promise that one day they will still be paid, but no money has actually come to them as a consequence of this deal. But one of the things that we looked at is who did make money out of this deal in one way or another. And what was interesting to us is that when we were able to use our access to Regiment's records, we were able to see that a number of smaller players in the consortium were able to sell their shares back to Regiments, essentially turning a profit of several million rand for themselves, and they were able to sort of walk out of the deal. Effectively as a consequence of the fact that those shares were now worth something because the company had gotten possession of this very valuable property.
Sterling work as always. Susan Comrie from AmaBhungane's investigative team, thank you so much for your time this morning. Keep plugging away.